Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the very first episode of Remind Rewind. My name is Jordan Klein. I will be your host tonight and always. And I'm so glad to have you. And let's get this thing going. All right, so here's the deal, guys. I decided to start rewatching all of my favorite movies from when I was growing up, later on in life. And I wanted to document it. So, as some of you may know or might not know, I've played in bands ever since I was a teenager. I'll turn 40 this year. So, for 20 years, I've been playing in bands. I started DJing around 21. And so, I have all these, recordings of when I was in a band or mixtapes when I was DJing as a way to kind of remember, what I was like then, since I was writing the lyrics for the bands, what I was thinking about, what I wanted to say. And then with the DJ mixes, it's just kind of like a little time capsule of all the songs that were popular at that time, maybe, or that we just wanted to put on the tape to get out there so other people could hear, in case they haven't heard it or whatever. Block party, oh, you guys don't know them, Phoenix. Oh my gosh, yeah. Because back in the early 2000s, there was Apple Music where, you could start downloading stuff, and obviously there was Napster and everything, but there wasn't, Apple Music wasn't as popular, I guess, as Spotify is today. Which, some of you might be listening to me talk on Spotify right now. So, okay, either way, I wanted to kind of record and note, some of my favorite movies I've seen, and, how I feel going back and rewatching them, what I remember from before seeing them, new movies that I might have missed along the way. I feel like I kind of gave up on movies for such a long time and just watched TV shows. I'll blame it on my short attention span, I guess. But movies were such a big part of my life growing up, and then in my formative years, and then as an adult, watching movies and reading books. That's what we did. So, I think now, and I go back and I'm like, wow, there's all these movies that I watched that I love so much that I've just totally forgotten about because they might not be on a streaming service. So what I decided is, I want to start collecting these movies. I have 1,000 records basically, and 2 Rubbermaids full of CDs or whatever that I don't even touch. Hundreds of cassette tapes, all this music, physical media that I have that I'm going to be able to keep forever, that I might be able to pass on to my children, just like my dad passed his records down to me. Both my uncles passed records down to me when I started DJing. My son might want these things. Hopefully he will. I'll have them if he does. And so for the longest time I wasn't collecting any sort of movies. Occasionally a TV show on DVD or whatever. We had a DVD player for a short time after my son was born, and then we kind of got rid of it. I had a couple of VHS tapes around 5 or 6 years ago, got rid of those. But then recently, I started going through a lot of my old stuff, thinking, maybe some of this stuff that I've held on to forever is actually worth something. So there ended up being some DVDs that I had, some video games. Obviously, a bunch of my records are probably worth money, but, I'm not going to be getting rid of them anytime soon. So, I wanted to sell these other things, and I found out, physical media, not only records, movies, DVDs, Blu-rays, all that stuff is really popular, and it was just something that I was kind of ignoring. So, through reselling, I kind of started collecting, all of the VHS tapes that I had as a kid, because right now you can get those things, for basically pennies on the dollar. You can get VHS tapes, $1 or whatever. So you're paying $1 for a movie that you can watch an endless amount of times, and you don't need to be connected to the internet or, there's once you put it on, there's a lot less distractions. You're not having to watch ads, or commercials, or whatever. You put it in and you watch it, and I love that. I love having the tapes, looking through what I have, knowing, this is what I can watch. Not just sit there and scrolling on Netflix for an hour and then, oh, yeah, well, I've been looking for 30 minutes and I still haven't decided what to watch. I mean, what I have is here. This is it. So I can either watch those or not. So, finding these films out in the wild, I guess as resellers say, for so cheap, I couldn't pass up on them to put in my collection. So, I started collecting, obviously, the movies that I loved and watched, some that I haven't seen that I always wanted to watch, some cartoons. I definitely loved watching cartoons growing up, the 90s X-Men, the 90s Ninja Turtles. Some of the ones I've loved recently that I picked up is DuckTales, Inspector Gadget, Darkwing Duck. My daughter loves old Blue's Clues, the Orange Tapes, and my son, he'll kind of just watch whatever. But, we'll get into that later. So, let's just talk real quick. Tonight we're going to be talking about Ferris Bueller's Day Off. A movie that I just loved growing up. So, in case you don't know, let's just get right into it, guys. Let's get into the movie. Over time, if you continue to listen to this podcast, and I hope that you do, I'll definitely go into, in a lot more depth about my physical media collecting journey, is what Steelbook Obsessed would say, which is another great podcast that you can check out if you like listening to nerds talk about their collecting and movies and whatnot. And let's just get into it, guys. All right, here we go. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. In case you don't know, Ferris Bueller's Day Off was released in 1986 and is an American teen comedy film. Written, co-produced, and directed by the one and only John Hughes. Starring Matthew Broderick, Jennifer Grey, Alan Ruck, and guest starring in one of my favorite scenes, the good old Charlie Sheen. Okay, so this movie is a story of a high school slacker, I guess you could call him, hero, Ferris, who skips school with his best friend Cameron and his girlfriend Sloane for a day out in Chicago. So John Hughes has like his favorite, I guess you'd call it his favorite like fictional town, which is Shermer, Illinois, where the movie takes place. It's in Chicago, but I guess they don't ever really mention that. They make it just kind of like, it's this big city downtown. Beep beep. So so they go out in Chicago. They see the sights. They have an amazing day, and chaos ensues, obviously. So a big part of the movie that I guess I'll explain real quick is Ferris is doing what they call breaking the fourth wall. He's going to be looking at the camera and talking to you, telling you, his inner thoughts, what's going down, what the other characters are thinking, which is really cool. And, you see it a lot more now in different things. I guess like in The Office, they break the fourth wall. They're talking to the documentary crew or whatever. But it's really cool. And I love that. And it adds so much to the movie. So, overall, first impressions, or personal impressions, I guess. For me, I love this movie. I have vivid memories of watching it as a kid in my bedroom on my setup, which we'll talk about again later. Just the way I had my TV and stereo set up, and I had the movies going through the stereo, so anytime I was watching a movie or a TV show, I could turn on the stereo and have it go through there, or I could have it go through the TV. I don't know. It just adds to it. So I do remember, I didn't miss a whole lot of school growing up in elementary school and junior high. It wasn't until high school, I guess, that I started, really slacking off and skipping school, I guess, or sleeping in or whatever. So I didn't miss that much school, but whenever I did, I always remember, in like 4th, 5th, 6th, the late elementary and then in junior high, watching this movie if I was staying home sick from school, and just kind of like starting my day that way. I guess just kind of chilling out and maybe getting some inspo from Ferris, but I mean, look, we could talk about this movie for hours, days. I'm not going to go deep into like the themes and the character development and the super technical stuff and all that. I'm just going to kind of keep things light and talk about different details about the movies that I love, and things that you might not know about. I found out about a couple things that I didn't even know about. So let's just. So the topics that I'll kind of be going over and that I'll be talking about, obviously the director John Hughes. Not only with this movie, but in the 80s, he's got a lot going on. He's the man with the master plan. The genre, which is, I guess you could call it this teen comedy, classic teen comedy, 80s teen comedy. And then the songs and the soundtrack, the score, I guess, however you want to say it. I think even like 30 years after the movie came out, there was never an official soundtrack that came out. Maybe there is now. I don't know. But there's so many cool... there's so many cool songs in the movie and so many cool little music kind of things that happen. So, all right, first let's talk about John Hughes. In case you guys don't know, John Hughes is an amazing writer-director that released, a lot of different movies, or, a lot of movies in the 80s that mean so much to, I guess, like the Generation X, Zennials, which is what I, would like to be called, and then Millennials. Maybe they're too young for this movie, but definitely Generation X and the Zennials. If you don't know what a Zennial is, look it up. It's like 79 to 84. Yeah, we just don't. We're not like the Millennials, but we're not born when Gen X was born. So we didn't grow up, with the tablets and cell phones and stuff. I mean, we did, at a beeper, and then, a cell phone like later on in high school or whatever. But, we were just like texting, like hitting all the numbers, 3 times if you want to do a T or whatever. So John Hughes, he's such an amazing director. Breakfast Club is definitely my favorite after Ferris Bueller. If you haven't seen that movie, I would definitely check that out. Also, some great musical moments that happen there. But so John Hughes, he wrote this movie in like 6 days, and which is absolutely crazy. But I mean, he knew. All he really knew was, I want to write a movie about a kid skipping school and hanging out, I guess, or whatever. So, it's nuts. It's such a good movie. Which supposedly, when it had first came out, one of the first screenings with the cast and crew, and then also like the higher ups at, I guess, what was it, Paramount, that this came on. They like didn't laugh and they like weren't into it, so they had to go back in and like recut everything and like make it funnier, I guess, or whatever. But I mean, there aren't a lot of like laugh out loud parts. It's kind of just like, I guess, like a dark comedy or whatever. Like like it's funny, but it's not like slap your knee funny. There are some parts like that, but so here's a couple of like really cool facts that I didn't know about the movie, and I guess about John Hughes, whatever. These are from mentalfloss.com. So Emilio Estevez supposedly turned down the role of Cameron, and I guess they wanted him to do it, but they ended up getting Alan Ruck, who turned 30 shortly after the film came out. So the thing with Alan Ruck is, I guess him and Matthew Broderick had done Broadway, Biloxi Blues together, and so they were already kind of like buddy. So I'm guessing, like the director, the casting director, went at them like, hey, well, they've already got this kind of like vibe, so we should definitely go for him, since I guess Emilio Estevez turned it down. And then for the role of Ferris, Anthony Michael Hall thought that John Hughes was writing it for him. Which, if you don't know, Anthony Michael Hall is also in Breakfast Club and 16 Candles, which, sorry, Pretty in Pink. Or wait, 16 Candles, yeah. Which is another John Hughes movie. He kind of uses his little cast and his little crew of people. I think they called themselves the Brat Pack. And it was a little group of actors from the 80s who were all starred in a bunch of movies together. Molly Ringwald, Anthony Michael Hall, Emilio Estevez. And there were some other, Ali Sheedy. I'm sure there's some others that I'm leaving out, but, you know, if you know, you know. And then Molly Ringwald wanted to play Sloane. And Hughes said allegedly that the part wasn't big enough for her. So I don't know if this came out before 16 Candles. I'm guessing it did. So, you know, I guess he was waiting to write 16 Candles or whatever. You know, I could have my dates mixed up. But she was in 16 Candles, and she was also in Breakfast Club. So, you know, he might have been like, you know what? You've been in enough of my movies for right now. So just chill, and we'll get to you in a minute. But who knows? And so that's pretty much it with the, you know, with John Hughes and, you know, and his kind of stuff. My next part that I want to talk about was Chicago, or what do they call it? His favorite fictional town, Shermer, Illinois. So this movie, I did read, I don't know the exact specifics, but it was put into some sort of museum or collection with the Chicago Historical Society or something like that, because it shows so many popular Chicago landmarks and you know, in the 80s. So they have all of this, you know, really good footage of these different places, you know, to kind of like I said, it's like a sort of little time capsule where you can see you know, different landmarks and how they're popular and how they've changed, which is really, really cool because it's an amazing movie. So I also want to say, like, you know, with the movie and Chicago, my Uncle Jeff, back in the day, I remember him taking a trip and hitting up all the spots that they go to in the movie. You know, the top of the building, the art gallery, the baseball game. Like, he made a whole trip out of like going and checking these places out. And I always thought that was like super cool, and maybe it made me like the movie more, you know, back then. Him and his wife are super cool. They've also ridden like every roller coaster in the world or something crazy shit like that. And they got married on a roller coaster. So, yeah, they're pretty cool. Shout out to my uncle and aunt. If you're listening, love you guys. So I just always thought that was really cool. You know, I still have never been to Chicago. If I do, I will definitely be going to all the locations featured in this film. Okay, so the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about the film was two more points. The genre. This whole 80s classic teen comedy kind of thing. John Hughes alone, like, wrote or directed or whatever, like, a huge chunk of these movies. I'm talking Weird Science, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, like heavy hitters. And kind of ruled the genre, but there were other ones out there that people love. You know, if you guys don't know, this genre is amazing. All of these movies are incredible. You know, some other ones, I guess, honorable mentions are Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Risky Business, Heathers, Say Anything with John Cusack, who is one of my favorite actors, and we will definitely be doing another one of his movies that he stars in and is the lead role very soon. So I mean, like, this genre, it was just so amazing because, I mean, if you look back, you know, the 70s, the 60s, the 50s teen movies, you know, they were like all completely different from '80s teen comedies, which I feel like where they sort of turned a leaf, I guess you could say, because if anyone, '80s teen comedies, then comes '90s teen comedies, and we all know how amazing and incredible all of those are. Yeah, I'll just say a couple of my favorites would probably be Can't Hardly Wait and maybe like American Pie or something like that. So, they're just going to get crazier and crazier. But this movie is just so amazing. It fits right in with that genre. It definitely stands out. And again, if you've never seen it, you should definitely watch it. I watched it the other night on VHS. I do have a sealed copy that I haven't opened yet that I was going to open and, I guess break the rules and, see how it felt to kind of open well, I have done this already since I've been reselling, but, opening a VHS, getting it out of the plastic, looking at it, it's brand new, crisp and clean. No one's ever watched this copy before, but I forgot I got another copy for $1. So the one that I'm watching is I can't read small stuff. 92. Okay, so this is the 92 re-release, Paramount. Yeah, so they re-released it in the 90s. Again, it originally came out in 1986. This was a re-release for 1992. Which kind of leads me into the next thing, which is the songs that are in the movie. Like if you have this VHS and you've watched it 100 times like I have, and this was like this isn't my copy from when I was a teen, but this is the copy that I had, right? It came out in 92, so I'm sure I got it, used at Blockbuster for like $1 or $2 or 50 cents or however much they used to charge. So the way it starts out is the tape doesn't have movie previews. It just has this like little kind of like mixtape, like mega mix, where you put the video in and then the kind of mega mix comes on and it's all set to the song Footloose, which I guess is another like teen comedy from the 80s. But it plays the song and it shows all these different clips of movies and little like sound clips from them. The movies are like Trading Places, Coneheads, Ferris Bueller. It's amazing. I would love to like play it, but I know I'd get popped because the song Footloose plays like very loud through the whole thing. So they pop me on the old streaming services like, hey, are you Kenny Loggins? Do you own the rights to that song? So, but it's super cool. Like, maybe I can find a YouTube link or something and post it. But I would definitely check it out. Maybe on YouTube, type in Paramount 90s movie Footloose preview. I don't know. It's amazing though. Just they don't do it like that anymore. So so the soundtrack and the score and the songs and everything like have such a big part of this movie. I mean, there's so many amazing scenes, that deal with the songs, like the parade when he's singing the Beatles version of Twist and Shout. Like I think I read that John Hughes put that song in the movie because like at the time he was writing it, like he just heard it all the time, everywhere he went. So he knew like, oh, if I put this in the movie, everyone's going to love it because it's like everywhere right now. It's like the hugest song. And he was kind of like sick of it, but I guess he thought it would be funny, to put it in there or whatever. Oh wait, no, he was talking about Donka Shang. That's the song he's talking about. He remembers hearing that growing up so much as a kid and putting it in and being like, oh yeah, I guess older people will love that. The Twist and Shout Beatles version is awesome. So I mean, those are two big parts of the movie. With songs, obviously "Day Bow Bow." I don't know the actual name of the song, but if you know, you know. "Day Bow Bow." When he's running, Day Bow Bow's in there. Okay, so when he's running and jumping through the backyards, that's also a super cool like ska song, which is awesome because it kind of like it dates the movie like in a good way, but yeah, ska. So and another thing when I think of like music in this movie is a ska band named themselves after this movie. The band is called Save Ferris. I don't know any of their songs, but I'm pretty sure they did like a cover of Come On Eileen, which is kind of ironic because it's an 80s song and they're named after an 80s movie, but they were like a 90s ska band or whatever. But ska, it's just like a wild and crazy music movement that happened. And if you were lucky enough growing up in the 90s and listening to punk and pop punk and all that, you probably listened to ska too and went to some ska shows and skanked and had a good time. Shout out anybody who went to the old show at the roller rink in Haltom City in the early 2000s and maybe saw me or Renee there watching Five Iron Frenzy. And then another band, Rooney, they what was this, like Rooney's like an early 2000s kind of indie band. They named or their name was an allusion to the principal, Rooney, who turns out to be a major creep, I guess, or whatever. But we won't go into that. So it's crazy, music. Obviously, if you've seen any of John Hughes' other movies, you know that music is a big part of those, and really just creates this like awesome vibe. Where like in The Breakfast Club, when everybody's doing their little dance to "We Are Not Alone." And then, at the very end, the Simple Minds, Don't You Forget About Me, where, Anthony Michael Hall is reading the letter to the man, and Judd Nelson, like, raises his fist as he's walking over the football field or whatever. When you hear that song, obviously, bam, you think of Breakfast Club right away. At least I do every time. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, Breakfast Club. We should watch that. It's a good one. With Robert Dave, watch it. It's just super cool that that music is able to, have such a big impact on these movies, the score and the soundtrack and everything. It's just so amazing how the directors in the 80s and still today, gosh, my dream job would be a music supervisor and be able to choose which Mickey song I'm going to put in the next Jordan Peele movie or the next Michael Schur comedy TV show, whatever. That would be an amazing job. I remember so many songs and learning songs from things, and I mean, especially in the 80s and the 90s, man, they were putting bands that nobody even knew about, and stuff, and they still do now, because we hear Rat-a-tat in a car commercial or whatever. It's just super cool. I love music so much, so obviously that's gonna kind of stick out to me. And you know what, guys? I thank you very much for listening. I don't want to go super long, in the beginning. I want to kind of ease everybody into it, especially maybe people who haven't listened to podcasts before, or don't have a lot of time to commit. I'm going to keep this first episode really short, and then if I have guests on, or as I get more used to doing this, because this is my first episode, I'll ramble on more. But I just want to thank all of you guys for listening. I'm going to kind of wrap it up. If you guys have any questions or movies that you think I should watch, movies coming out soon, summer movies, if you want to send me a VHS tape, you can email me at remindrewindpod. That's remindrewindpod at gmail.com. Questions, comments, concerns, send those that way. I love this movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I love all the other movies that I am going to talk to you guys about with you guys about. If I had to rate this movie, I don't know if that's going to be a thing. I might do some sort of lists, but obviously this is going to be like one of my top 5 like favorite movies of all time, or top 3 probably. But we'll go into all those. We'll play all those. I'm also going to talk more on some future episodes about buying and reselling and physical media collecting. And I guess a little teaser is, I'm going to have some guests on. Definitely going to have on Renee from the Breakfast of Champions podcast on very soon. If you haven't listened to that, these guys are really awesome. Renee and Parker, they talk weekly about breakfast and violence. So definitely check them out. I played in a band with both of them. They're really awesome. They'll probably have me on soon. And so if you listen to this, you should definitely listen to them. And if you listen to them, you should definitely listen to me. And we'll all just have a good time. So thank you very much for tuning in. And I hope to come back to you. And I'm really going to do my best and try to come at you every week with a brand new episode. So I haven't quite decided what that's going to be next week. But I promise you, you will hear from me soon. So stick around. Please follow me or like me or hit the button on Spotify. Give me a rating if you would even like to. If you like the intro music or the outro music, you can check it out. It is created by me, Jordan Klein, your host of Rewind. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me on SoundCloud and Bandcamp under the name Dank Line. Again, guys, thank you so much for listening to the very first episode of Rewind. My name is Jordan Klein, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks, guys.